ila do ko fanan ya fanna be fonyang fo itata dandaming.
You explained in detail your time at the Birkama Area Council from development officer to chief executive officer.
Kola fanang ila pala so yawa to men ke Birkama Area Council kabo development officer makamo to fo wato men itata ke chief executive officer ti.
We discussed the financial scam that was going on at the Birkama Area Council.
Bitung tapalaya men bekeri nunna flota mandola karola Birkama Area Council ngo fanan kacha.
And how this was actually uncovered by the audit report as well as yourself during your investigations.
Hanin wo tapalaya fanan anata wanyari nyadi le ite fangola kungola kisikisiro kan aning birin kontibola lu fanal nata yela kontiboke ifanal nata kukilingo nyim wanyari.
And we would just like to make it clear that this is your version of events.
And
although it is to provide context as to what happened to you, our main focus is really the human rights violations that you suffered. And this is what we started with at the NIA office. What happened to you? You told us that you spent a period of a month at the NIA office after you were terminated. I would like you now to focus on the particular human rights violations that you suffered during that 1 month period, and if you witnessed any other human rights violations on other people.
Aning misal kama nina tabodo kalama yemen sede ya menketa dolu laje fo isi wo banke no mfanali yang kulonje.
If we may proceed by just telling us what happened on that day after you were handed over the termination letter and you went back to the NIA, did anything significant happen on that day or the next?
Bitun silamba folola damen wolem biri ila bondi letero di la foka pare inata murundi NIA ye sindije silang fo wolungo mune nata kela wolungo fongo wala asamo fo kuketa la jela bang.
Thank you very much.
Well,
during our period of detention,
na muto wuche okono,
and indeed, of course, we were detained upstairs in the conference room.
Andu inatantelu sindi ila bembungola kono santo ikafadame conference room.
Where you have sofa chairs.
Dame nyi sirangol lebije menketa nyi siran jangoluti.
The conference table.
Aning ila kacha ila beng ika beng ke table ba mento.
Furnished with air condition.
Adunje bunkono sumayandirango bije.
And also with a toilet facility.
Andu banta to tarango fanam bije.
We spent the whole month over there.
Na karomu me obeke waleto.
You're explaining very comfortable conditions of detention, unlike some of the witnesses that we have had here at the TRRC. Do you know what was the reason for that?
Bitunga munda itela taro uje okonoje amunda itata daha ba konoje men nin dolu fatata men ya lonko ye wolu mutaje ye menke wolu la wonite ta fatata fo yalo ne dalilo me yakendi itata daha kono.
Well, everything that happens to a human being is the decision of God.
Hadama de ko kundin kitala isalon ko Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala la kitolem.
Meaning that I was exonerated by God.
Amunta wolem nyintiko Allah ta'ala fangole yate seneyandi.
To be deprived from, to be tortured.
Wolem atankata tajireya maka mutaka tajireya.
Or harsh interrogation.
Walla nyininkar dimindingulu.
Because it was a premeditated plan, as I mentioned before.
Katu menketa la munta molle sita ya ferocity ate kamma jamfale mu kaya funu nyami.
Just to remove me from the office.
Danko doro ya te bu jenkendi ka bondi office nyinto.
To reinstate my predecessor.
Pro ate saita men noto pro isio murundi na nyaming.
Mr. Jammeh, we understand that you did not go through any harsh conditions of detention like torture or harsh interrogation techniques. But can you tell us whether or not you were detained incommunicado Were you allowed visitors from your family? Did you have the right to a lawyer, for example?
Mr. Jammeh nga lonko to nya ebe muto kono wato men itata daha kono je imang ku kolel laikang imanyinin kar kolem fanan laikang bar bitum ila muto kono fodum ila muto keta dewoleti amunta nimmo buka nyomoy ini ila dimbaya lu nimbari lu buka nyomoy fodum fanan inata silo sotole pour loyasi ini loyasi diamu men si loye foyo lu sotole ba.
That's correct.
Omuto nyati
I was deprived from seeing my family. Although I was accommodated hospitality like food from their own restaurant over there. But I made inquiries why we were detained here. They said, we don't have any charges against you. But we were acting upon orders from the State House.
So therefore your right to liberty was actually restrained?
Yes, it was
Your rights were being violated even though, I mean, the right procedure was not being followed.
That's correct.
You were not charged for any particular offense?
No, sir.
And as far as you were concerned, do you know if there was an order for your detention at the NIA?
Yes.
Lawful order? Was there any lawful order for your detention there?
No, it was an unlawful detention.
And you've already told us that you were detained at the order of the President's office, which were executive orders.
Executive order
according to the revelations from the former Director General of NIA, Tabamarena.
Amunta ko mem Director General tinu wotembo NIA ko ayaita ndinyaming ikafome Mr. Tabamarena.
And as far as you were concerned, even if your detention was lawful, do you know if the NIA was actually a proper place for your detention then?
Misali kama hanatara ile sindoje ke muta hanin ayatara anin luwa tata nyola bari NIA la wo dinkirato fojelom dinkirati nyante te sin la dame nin luwa le yafu.
No, because I was like, it's a God-given privilege that one of them told me, you are lucky to be here under this hospitality, but the rest of other civil servants will be directly sent to Mile 2.
Ako mo sotonta menka enko alala makoyro na la hinno kan mo sotonta me ya fa enko ite mantale benteye ye tarandi jang bar man sakunda do kula dolu ni wolulle munum e kawlu ki jama ke samba Mile 2 le.
And during the period of detention,
andum muto wuchew nyin kono
one of the deputy operations manager Babukar Jallo.
Ikafome Babukar Jallo me alonko atebe molle kono menu operations manager no lankoti
invited myself and the chairperson
ayente fango kundingo ning sirantio nying bunya kumandi
to his office.
Ala office auto.
He said, anyway, I want to launch an investigation into your petition.
Akayanko sain lafta kule datila wolem kisikisiroti iteyo kumakangulu menu safenung ke laludula nin kolu itandi menu bekering lafta kule kisikisila.
Can you guide me to give me list of names whom I'll be able to contact at the Brikama Area Council?
Fo isi tolu dinon telale tolu meni alon ko sibula wulu noma nyanta menu nyininkala kolu anyala Brikama Area Council je.
I said to him, look, it's open to you.
Because I
wrote this petition to the executive.
Katunganyin kalamir lettero safe kaki kunton ko fongle.
And I received no response.
Adun jabiri mambonanje.
So I will not be in the position to give you any names.
Woton tetarno la lo dulato purka tolu diite la kotake.
So the NIA were attempting to launch an investigation into this matter after you were detained.
Woto abeko ko NIA lu lafta ni kisikisiro le londi la nyin kuma kolu noma wato me yete mutafuka pare.
Yes, correct.
Do you know if any interrogations were made?
Foya lon ne baysi bo akala ma fo ye nyindin karolu dolu kele bang.
Yes, indeed.
Ha tonya.
Mr. Jallo,
Mr.
Babkar Jallo.
Mr. Babkar Jallo
invited Fafa Kuyate.
Fafa Kuyate Kumandi,
the former director of finance.
Me yalon ka tele martanu na fulola director of finance wotumo birkama area council.
And in our midst, in our presence,
Andum fangolu nyala.
He was asked the question
Ya nyininka
whether he has any knowledge about the missing ledger book.
Fodum buko me yalon ko kolu menu sotonta na fulolu menu wala na fulo men kensunta bes anyanta safela buko membala me yalon ko buko silang amanje faye londi soto akoto le bang.
In my presence, he replied negative.
Mfango nyala je ala jabiro keta nyineti ko hani.
Mr. Jammeh, I just want to clarify as for your statement whether you're referring to the Director of Finance or the Revenue Collector.
The Director of Finance, the former Director of Finance.
Memo safirlalu kuolu safelati ba mfo memmartana flow fangla bari sedo ko memmartana flow fangla wala Director of Finance.
Okay, kindly proceed.
Tenteng.
When he was invited, he left the room together with Babkar Jallo left the room together with Fafa Kuyate into another room.
Bitum biringo botala Fafa Kuyate ate fangani Babkar Jallo botan tel fewo bungo kono itata dum bundo kono.
Just so to remind you, the ledger book, as you said, was where all the unauthorized revenue that was being collected was recorded.
Kilo bulandi wo ledger book wole mu bukoti wala kitabu me yalon ko na fulo membebe kensun kanun kenye wafo la karola anyanta safela o buko lebala.
And which was not part of the formal budget of the Birkama Area Council.
Me yalon ko amantara num Birkama Area Council la fansum malankun na fulo kono.
The ledger book entails all income revenues collected.
Ledger buko nying wo kitabo.
So this was
dunta na Birkama Area Council aketa namo leta ni soto fengulu kotengulu abenyanta safela o buko lebala.
So this was quite vital evidence implicating those who were involved in this scam.
Exactly.
Amunta nyimu sede koy baleti kamolu kalami me yalonko wolle dabe o tapali akotonu sedo ko ha.
Please go ahead.
Tenteng.
Then we had a loud scream.
Bitum wotumole na taw wuri ba moyje.
Not once, not twice.
Kilinte fulate.
Almost 3 times.
Abita fosinya sabanyong.
I can recall.
Hakilo be memma.
Then they came out.
Bari brief inditanang.
Then Babkar Jallo told me
Wotumole Babkar Jallo e nyum fanyenko.
I still have to invite the secretaries.
Sila secretary ol wala safer lalu fonga ol fanalu kumandi.
Before we move on to the secretaries, Mr. Jammeh, can you tell us why there was a loud scream from your Director of Finance?
Mr. Jammeh janningata mune akendi o wuri ba sotonta kabo allamu bulu mem ketana fulo mar latino tembo.
And did you see what was happening at the time?
Fodum ya jele ni wotumo membe ke kambang.
Well, you have 2 rooms.
Je bunkono fulale biji.
Where you have the reception.
Dame kamolu bentun dame reception.
And you have another room behind it.
Bundo fanam bije membe wo koma.
Where you have entrance door.
Dame dunda bunda beje oto fanang.
So it's invincible to see what is happening inside there.
Woto nimmolu dunda woto membe ke kanje itaje nola.
But when they came out,
Bar brief intitanang.
as I really suspected,
Konsobitanum menna.
there was electrocution that took place.
Abeko ya mari mas kurangulalde.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Munan na inata la ko leketa.
Because I didn't hear anything like flapping or beating or that sort of thing. It was just a white scream. Because if there was beating, obviously you'll be able to hear it.
So you just assumed that it was electrocution, but you did not see it happening?
No, I didn't see it happening.
But something was used to cause or inflict pain and suffering on him that caused him to scream. And can you just confirm that it was Babukar Jallow who was in the room with him at the time?
Yes, I can confirm that.
As far as you told us, he left the room with him, and the next thing you heard was a loud scream.
Yeah.
And was it Babukar Jallow who escorted him back to the room you were in?
Yes.
More importantly, tell us about this ledger book, because he was asked about the book and what was his response initially before he was taken into the room where you heard him screaming.
Menkumayata ledger book kita amunta na fulolu nyanta safela menkono wo biriya nyininka atelaja biro keta muneti janibe bolaje pour kata wo bundo kono wuro kumata dame.
He responded negative.
Of not
knowing how the ledger book was missing.
And when he came back into the room, did he still maintain his position?
No, it was Babukar Jallow who disclosed to us that anyway, the ledger book, we know where it is now.
Babukar Jallow le afontole saying ledger book nying ngalon na bedamen saying. Do you know where he got that information from?
Like they left the room where the screaming was taking place. So that's the way I know that the ledger book has been disclosed by Mr. Kuyate, where it is kept.
And can you confirm whether this disclosure was made after he was, whatever was inflicted on him, causing him to scream, was done?
Exactly, yes.
So tell us what happened then.
And Babukar informed me, anyway, I will have to call at least 1 or 2 secretaries, and we also consult one of the councillors, as well as one senior revenue collector.
Babukar na tanyim fonyanko ha silande mbewo kila kulu kilim fula nyong kumandila lenge nyininka menu kita safer lalti andu wokola fanang aseke nga kansilo fanang kumandinang killing kansilo killing me yalonko isina ye kuma fonye nyin kwoto.
Do you know whether the ledger book was actually found and where it was found?
Fo inata lon tonya inata kitabo nyinjele wo ledger book aning inata jamintole.
It was found in the reception where the secretaries sit.
Inata tara molu jia molu bentundula to ka molu jia ndidame nyi saferla lo secretary lo kasidame.
In what particular location are you referring to?
Ibe dinkiraju male kilim mateng.
It is the office before you enter the CEO's office.
Ikadung office men kono jannibe dun na kuntonkola office kono memu CEO la office.
That's at the Birkama Area Council.
At the Birkama.
Well, Birkama Area Council ti sedo ko ha Birkama Area Council je.
And it was revealed to me that it was found under the carpet.
Andu yo nyina fonyen ko ya tara tapeo nyinne koto carpeto nyinne koto.
And can you tell us, Mr. Jammeh, whether this is the usual place that you would keep your documents and files at the Birkama Area Council under the carpet?
Fodu sinyum fono nyina Mr. Jammeh. Fodu jelo mu dinkirati nyim buku façon lu nyanta mabola daming Birkama Area Council ye.
No, it's not normal.
Hani wamanyanke amanke anyama.
And do you know why that was done in this particular instance?
It's because when these people were dismissed,
the
the finance director and the CEO,
finance director, and CEO,
they want to make sure that they, how do you call it, they keep away.
They were covering up their activities. Is that what you're trying to say?
Every expenditure or every income is supposed to be entered in that ledger book. This was why when they were dismissed, they had to keep this. So that's the main reason why Mr. Jallo, Babukar Jallo,
Mr. Jallo, Babukar Jallo,
he said, I will pursue this matter at the area council itself. Because this man has just disclosed to me that where the ledger book is kept.
There
was a time he invited the secretaries. In fact, one of them was just babysitting at the time. When he reported to NIA, they wanted to detain them there. I said to Babukar, it doesn't make sense because this woman is suckling her baby. Just if you have the chance, just simply visit the scene and then let them show you where the ledger book was kept. And exactly that's what he did. So when it was retrieved, oh my God, what I found in that book, the ledger book, annually, it should be closed. So that you will be able to project income or actuals, and the expenditure. If that book is not available during budget session, or any information concerning the income and the expenditure, it will be a ghost budgeting.
So there was no proper reconciliation of accounts, basically, that happened at the end of each year.
Exactly.
And this was a deliberate act, obviously, on the side of the finance director and other officials at the Birkama Area Council. To hide the actual events that were happening in relation to the financial situation there.
Exactly.
Mr. Jammeh, I think we've received enough evidence surrounding the book and the financial fraud.
Mr.
As I said earlier, I really want us to focus on the human rights violation that occurred. You have already told us that your liberty, basically, your rights to liberty was violated. Because the right procedure was not applied as to you being detained there. You were not charged for any offense. And there was no order, lawful order for your detention there.
Adum lua la kamman soto meya foko enyante te sindi la jele lua la karola.
You were also kept incommunicado, and you were not able to communicate with your family or your lawyer.
Andung inate mutaje ye dendi katu inila dimbayalu nimbadi ngulu kanyo jeno kanyo moy andung ini lawyer fanamang nyo moy no.
And it's clear that the 1 month period that you were detained there was far in excess of the constitutional time limit.
Amunta ye wato menke ke sindi o dinkirato na banko la mararo sarti bukuba me ka fa constitution woyeme yitandi boni o sartol fatatal.
You have also told us about the treatment that Fafa Kuyate received at the hands of NIA officers, in particular Babukar Jallow.
Yenyum fanam fo nyenne menketa Fafa Kuyate la je ya ala kulu tamandi nyamin je Babukar Jallow la karola.
And although you've told us that you were not in the room when what was being done to him was being done to him, but after he left the room,
ye bitun fana yitandile ko ifama mantara CDRinde kenela bungonyin kono kuketa la damen bari bitun ko la biri botananje.
he made a confession which he had previously denied.
Anata lo katonya fo kakuma fo abalanta memfola num foloto.
Which, according to you, implies that something was done to change his mind.
Amunta wenyine itandiko ye kule kala menata sababu hanfo ayele mata anata kumadofo.
Can you tell us whether any of the secretaries or any other official of the Birkame Area Council who was interrogated during the course of investigations was detained, or any other human rights violations occurred in relation to them?
Fo esinyim fanam fo no nyele Birkama Area Council lawdo kulalu menu ye natije fo motarte kono le bang ye menu mutaje wala fo kusi kela ilawo taro wuche kono birina ye nati na eje.
Well, I stood to defend their detention.
Ntede ngamen kata wolem lota ka nying fo manyeng na imutalaje.
Just kindly tell us whether they were detained or not.
Well,
for some of them, they were detained from morning up to evening time and released upon my appeal.
But none of them spent the night there.
No.
Do you know if any other human rights violations occurred? Were they beaten or anything?
Foi botañin kalama ko hadamaya ñantatiña do kelta jele membe ko liparo wala kudo.
Yes, I witnessed one.
Ha ngakilin sedea.
Kindly tell us.
Wo fanyeng
the day we were released
lumme yembula
after the month's detention.
Biringa karikilin muto kije foka pare.
I was just passing by the corridor to the operations manager's office.
Mbetambi kang sila jenjengo kang membe operations manager la office jenjengo la je.
That's Demba Sow.
Demba Sow, exactly.
Walem Demba Sow ti ha sedo ko ha Demba Sow.
It's just adjacent. You have a cell.
Bitu je tilinyala selo do fanambe woto.
I noted my younger brother.
Nganyinje ko ndoma.
We come from, of course, it's my father's younger brother who gave birth to him.
Amunta mfama doma dingole muwoti.
He just called me.
Ayonkumandi.
Brother, please, can you help me?
Ayonkumandi akonye nkoto ko imma koy.
I said, what are you finding here?
Nkaye kamune kijang.
Said, I was detained here for almost a week.
Akwa akaye yemuta janne membita hanfo lokung.
Look at my face, it's swollen.
Akaye nyada jube abebe funuring.
Look at my back.
Akaye nko jube.
It's all lacerated with whips.
Abebe faramfarandi mbuter danolu yang karawasi damenuto.
I asked him, what have you done?
Nganyinka ite muneke.
He told me, anyway, it's about land problem.
Akoha aketamenti wale keta banku kene kuolemu.
I sold land to someone, my father's land.
Mfama la banku keno nga wafi molema.
And another person came to claim that.
Adu modo fananata ulina menko ateletamu ototi.
Perhaps he's a wealthy person.
Atu fankamalemu.
That that land was sold to him.
ko wala sabu yo banku keno wafi atema.
So this was in relation to a civil issue.
Amunta nyindo mu kudo leti.
And as far as you know, do the NIA have jurisdiction to deal with civil issues?
Fodum NIA itela londo to fo hadama dingulu dam mangulu tema itele ku soto ngotole bang.
It should not have been so.
Amanyan na kela wanya.
And as a result, his human rights were violated by being beaten.
To kamala ya la hadama ya nyanto tinya katu ya mutale ya lipa ka tajire ya.
But of course, this had nothing to do with your case. It was a separate matter.
Barbitu nyindo mu kudo leti afaye anitela kuwa nyo soto femfenna.
It's just it's a sin oversight.
Amunta drongi nya msede atamenalom dronga menjije.
And is it correct that you were detained with your chairman?
Kodun to nyalom inila chairman o yalibele mutanyola je.
3 of us were detained, myself, the commissioner, the chairperson.
Mosabale yentel mosabale mutajente commissioner anin chairperson sirantio nyimfa chairman.
Commissioner was released 3 nights, after 3 nights.
But commissioner nying yo bulabrate suto sabakije.
That he was direct, according to Daba, I was just following them on the path.
Ko Daba ya fanya mbe komale mbe bulakang inoma silo nyinkang.
Mandinka, anyway, I have been directed by the Bumbato to release you.
Ngamwe ba flying ko Bumbato ye kango dinna membote je prungete bula.
Of course, I show him shed tears.
Ngaje akumbota nyaji ulubota.
I only had to comport him.
Ngakata puruka juso nyabu.
And that was Abdou Badji.
Abdou Badji, yes.
Wolem Abdou Badji ti ha.
Did anything happen to him as far as you know?
Fo kuketa le bang itela londoto.
Nothing, absolutely.
Fem mankala.
Apart from his detention?
Na mankala mutoti.
Nothing, absolutely.
Pu mankala.
What about the chairman?
Chairman odum.
Same.
Wonyam fanang at nyakili ngulem.
How long was he detained for?
Ate wati jelle kije.
Was detained the same date, the same period with me.
Na be wati kilingole kije ye mutalung kilin bitum be wati kilingole kije.
As far as you know, did anything happen to him?
Ila londoto fo kuketa fanan na lebang.
Well, I only observed that he was not happy.
Na korosi kuda latela karola amantara seworing.
Because last time I sighted him stood by the window.
Katu wati sotonta ngaje ko alota palantero to.
Overlooking the ocean.
Abe fanka soma fango jube kang.
I inquired from him, what are you thinking of?
Nga nyinin kang kaya kemira minela.
He said, well, I have a small child who is very much fond of me.
Ako dindim bembulu dindindingu me yalon ko adalitan na bake.
And he shed tears.
Afananya jiol botaje.
That he has no knowledge where I am today.
Ako bidindingu nyimfelenti amalombe damembi.
And how did you feel being within the premises of the NIA, especially in relation to some of the torture that you witnessed and heard?
Saying ite yo je nyadile yata nyadile katara NIA la o sansango konoje inata tajire yalu menu jije.
It is a violation of human rights.
Hadama ya nyanta tinyalemu.
It's also through gross wickedness.
Andu wafanamu ngania jawyaleti.
And it is also lack of good leadership.
Amunta nyatonka ya kende fanante kerinu.
At any point, did you fear for your own safety or your life?
Fuwati sotontale isilanta ifango la tankadala wala isilata puru ifango niwala kuala.
Well, I maintain my brief, my how do you call it? I maintain my to be brief.
Ngamen londi dorong wala mnyenti wakil tangan na jusube ngo sabatindi.
But what were you really feeling inside?
Bari konotola ibe nyadi le nongotumo.
That I have done nothing.
Ko man fenke.
Obviously, I only pray to God to protect me.
Nga o anyand aketa nyamen ron nga ala le dani fase ntankandi.
That's the fate.
Wala dankene yati.
Which actually diminishes all my burdens.
Me ya lonko wale duni jama bondin sondo mokono.
Because I'm ready to face anything.
Omparetele kokundi mbekela nsinyati lingala.
For telling the truth.
Purka to nyafo.
It is the corruption I reveal.
Andu nakaroni ntapale ya ngole wanyari.
So I will not fear anybody. I only fear God in doing my job correctly.
But as far as you knew, what was the NIA capable of doing to you or anybody else?
Bari itela londoto ila miroto yenyi mira NIA ko isi munkule keno itela wala isa men keno momondina.
Well, the stories I overheard that they have been doing or they have been operating.
Ngakuma fota lu menu moy be menu ke kanung wala NIA lu kamen kenung.
Well, it's fearsome.
Asilanya wartalde.
But with my determination,
bari nte amunta ngani ya sito menke.
It's going to be dead or alive.
Wala mbe fala wala ngabo.
What stories were you hearing? Can we be a bit more specific?
Eka mulle moyno foisi wolu dolu banke nyebang.
It is maiming, torture, disappearance,
kamolu lanjur, kamolu muta ke tajireya anen kamolu yemandi.
Killing.
Kamolu fafang.
And of course you experienced that personally whilst you were there.
Yes.
No,
it's just a concept.
Amunta kule me yalonko afota na andum nga asoto na miraroto.
I went with the concept of faith in God.
Ninyi miro le tataje kondankene yata alala.
Where there is war,
ninkelo bekering.
You don't have to interfere with the war.
Amunta itete ikutamandila okeloto.
Prevent yourself from doing or participating in the war.
Itebe fantankandila le puru ikana ma be wala ke dabula okeloto.
That will be your fate.
Wala bekelela dankene yata.
And what war are you referring to, Mr. Jammeh, so that we are clear?
Mr. Jammeh itebe kele jumalema puru asisene yantoluma.
With the concept that these people, they kill, they punish, they torture.
Nyimolu mumole timeni alonko eka mofa andum eka molu tilimbalia eka molu mutake tajireya ke nyimantania.
And what I was driving at was that you did experience some of the torture, for example, when you were there. Or you witnessed it, perhaps.
That's my younger brother, whose case I witnessed.
Yes. You also told us about Fafa Kuyate.
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much. Let's move on. You've already told us that you spent 1 month in detention, and we've highlighted all the conditions of detention that you went through. Did anything else significant happen after your detention at the NIA?
Saying attending menketa NIA ilamutu okulu men beketa je aning yemen je yolu be fonyenne saying. But between silang foku kumana tak sotole menketa bang wato men ibota NIA.
Yeah, we got released
Yembula
upon the information that
Nyinkibaro kanko
within the precinct of NIA
la sansango konoje
that Monday morning
wotene lungu somanda
was not it wasn't calm at all.
Jemanten kumfereng
There were some movements
tani nal ni mamanglu be kerinje wotumo
which I didn't come to know
me yalonko wotembo malonde
until the time we were asked to move out of the premise.
Hanfo wato menginata fo kontel finti ila korda sansango nyinkono.
That's the time we went as far as inside a taxi.
Brintata hanfo mbotaje fondunta taxi okono
up to Denton Bridge.
Ntata fo Denton Bridge saro saloto.
I inquired from the driver, what about all these soldiers standing around here?
Na drive fo nyinenka. Nyin sojarol men bebe lorinjang mune be kering.
He said there was an aborted coup.
Ako coup d'etat bayri ngole sotontanu.
Then that's the time I realized
Otumo lenata akorosiko
when what so told me
between soya memfanyenu
there is a little bit of movement in that NIA premise.
Ila sansango konoje teng mango beke kanje otumo.
Something is in the cooking.
Adung kube tabikango otumo.
Which abortive coup are you referring to?
Ndurcham.
So at that point, the NIA really had bigger fish to fry, so they had to get you out of there to make room for.
Exactly.
Amunta otembo NIA ule nyeba soto ebe mem fry la. bitunga munta wole mu ko mbatunga nyindonu bula.
Mr. Interpreter, I'm wondering what interpretation that was.
There was a big fish for them to fry.
I'm not too sure if that is the interpretation I need. And you use the word fry.
What, yeah, because you said fry. In Mandinka, they use fry, the same word, kajani. But janiro also can be two-way. Janiro can be something to be put directly in the fire on the embers, which is different from frying, because frying, you fry with oil.
But you do understand that there were no fishes being fried at the
No, but this is a saying. It's a proverb.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sure, hopefully, the witness understands.
He understands, because he understands Mandinka very well.
Thank you very much.
Minumbara.
All right, Mr. Jammeh, so after that, you were released and you had gone. Yeah. What else happened to you, if anything?
Sa mbiro be keta yalibula alibotaje alitata fobe kola kuna takelemen keta labang.
Just keep in mind in relation to human rights violations that you may have suffered.
Wala mnyinti do hakilolo hadamaya nyanta tinyalu kamenu boite tekang.
I remember of course my human rights was violated.
Hakilo ya jeko yenna hadamaya nyanto tinyale de.
My rights in the constitution.
Ko bankola maral sarti bukuba ya funyamen constitutional.
Removal of a public servant.
Bondi ala do ko to man sakunda do kula ka bondi anoto.
Likewise, the government, a local government act as well, 2002.
Ko na man sakunda ringulu fanal la loi ya funyamen men lota 2002.
That a CEO can only be removed.
Oh, CEO member palaso to isa bondi no nyamemma.
By the recommendation of the Local Service Commission.
Walem local service, walem na bundala do kulala alfa kafo, wala yamaro drone samari bondino.
So you were saying your termination was unlawful?
It was unlawful.
Walem nyintiko ye bailu kola nyaming aniluwa manta.
Did you do anything in relation to that? Did you make any claims anywhere?
For yefe yekuta mandile wo koto bang wala yekanindiro kedulato ko yembondi do kola nyaming aniluwa manta.
Yes, it was later I went back to NIA again
to
inquire
whether
there were any charges levied against us. Because by then I had what you call certificate of character.
Certificate of character.
This is what I want to struggle to vanguard as what you call a protection of my human rights. But the acting director by then, Bobaji, he checked through the computer. He said to me, I'm sorry, there is no trace of your detention here. Then I went again, informed my lawyer about this case. I said to him, anyway, I have to pursue this matter. My human rights is violated. They went against the constitutional clause. And they also acted against the Local Government Act 2002.
And did he do anything in particular?
Yes. He took the matter to High Court.
Of course, you have already supplied to us the documentation that he filed, which was a writ of summons. Which was filed on the 27th of March 2007.
March 2007.
Correct.
Tonya.
The civil suit number is HC 09107MF033H. And Mr. Chairman, we would like to enter this writ of summons into the record as Exhibit 168D.
Request granted, Counsel.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Can you just tell us, without going into the details of this case, what eventually happened? What were the findings? Did it conclude, for example?
Saying, Hanima Jamfandi Barbitum, Ninkobe Lanya Atamata Yamin, Hanfo Alabaunata Kenyamin, wo Fonying Akatanyamin.
Well, at the first hearing,
Silafolomen that Kitola,
the judge, Hadi Roche,
Memu Jojo to Kitir Tamandila Hadi Roche,
made an order.
I Kangolondi,
Let the two parties
Ko Yin Karafulolu,
find an amicable resolution.
Isi Fero Yining, Ibenin Kumo Kumfala Yamin Bunyanin Horomoko.
That is the compromise.
Willem Purka Kataka Kambeng.
That was about almost 2 weeks before the second hearing. And the second hearing, the state appealed that the High Court does not have the jurisdiction for that case. And therefore, they are appealing to the Court of Appeal.
Woto saying ibedaniro kela purka samba kiti saying kambunda like after me Court of Appeal.
And the judge informed me.
Anun jojo membije wenyin kibaro fonyeko.
Court of Appeal is a superior court to High Court.
Kiti saying kambunda nying Court of Appeal wolem kiti bundati men's la kolu seleta santo katambito lula.
So we will make what you call stay of proceedings. So that's the end of the case at the High Court.
So as far as you're concerned, after the state filed an appeal and there was a stay of proceedings ordered by the judge, nothing came out of the case. So the case is still hanging, so to speak, as we...
Bring a High Court Kulu Lundi Onya, Eko Silang, Ning Kulu Lundi follow, Wairi, Kobitala, Kitty Sain Kambunda Banyin. Amonda Kulu two talari wallet of Onyin Tembeng, Kumana Keke, Kumana Boje, Kumana Tamaji.
Yes, Counsel, up to date.
Sedokoha, Aketawale Nyama, Fokatabula Bila.
And did anything else happen during the pending of this case? Did anything happen to you in particular?
For itafango kumo for kusotontale mensi kela bang nyinkolu kono kito tumo fo wato membe kito denna fo katabula bila fo kumankela.
Yeah, a year after,
Sanji killing kolu kola,
I was invited to deliver lectures at the International Federation for Housing and Planning Conference in Liverpool.
Inatan kumandi bento menketa Liverpool sate oto wobe Angleterre banko la kampurngata dia mu bento me ya lonko atilinta molu sidulal nin taradulalu Kenya la anim bunkolu lanya wobengo nyanta dia mu laji.
Because I'm a member of that professional global body.
Katu ndefana mu kafudingo leti wololna la o dunia kafuba nyin kono.
On the day of my departure,
lumme nyanta banko bula la kata,
just about to make what you call how to say it again? Just to check-in time. Check-in time. I went on a shopping spree to this place, Serakunda, to buy at least containers, like suitcase.
That was before you checked in, right?
Yes, before I checked in. Just at my gate of my compound, I found a police car there. And they told me that you are wanted at Banjul police station. Then I was with my son. We boarded together the vehicle. Instead of Banjul, they drove us back to Brikama headquarters. Police station. And after a while,
biring wati tambita
they said, anyway, we now have to take you to Banjul.
iko kota ke fonge samba Banjul.
We went to Banjul.
Murutan tata Banjul.
And just, I think it was at the dawn of closing time, 4 o'clock.
Woning mo la jiwato le benta kabodo kudula talanani.
We met just at the entrance of Banjul police station.
Banjul police korda ba ila bunda fangoto jede.
One officer called Ensa Baji, Jesus.
Nimmo benta je e kafame Ensa Baji dol kafa Jesus.
They saluted him.
Ya salute. Wala mi ya la bunya diala ko police ka dalta kala men.
Those were my escorters. They saluted him.
Men yate dandam police men yate mutanu wala ya Ensa Baji salute kala bunya diala.
Do you remember who were your escorting officers?
Foy hakilo sibula menu bete dandan kanu be samba kanu foy hakilo sibula wala.
Well, it's a long time. I cannot even recognize them today.
Wati jambale mudente sute no labi.
We are 2 in number.
Imo fulalem.
But they were police officers.
Yes, they are police officers working at plain clothes.
Police lembar wutumo wolbedu kola dame ibuka uniform dum.
And what about Ensa Baji? What position did he hold then?
Wutumo Ensa Baji dum mum palace le babul nu.
It was later I came to understand that he was the commander of the serious crime unit.
Ko kola lo nata lonko atelum kolu nyaton koti bunda la kafadam ye serious crimes unit amunta ku kolengulu marabunda.
So he directed them to take me to the station itself.
Wale kamodi la puri ensamba police la dinkra fanto je police station o fanto.
On arrival at the station,
Birim futa station oto.
we found one Sergeant Ba.
Nga sajino tarje kafame ba.
They saluted him
Yo fanan salute.
and told him that we are asked to bring this man here.
Ya fa e ko ngin nati jang.
Sergeant Ba told them, anyway, I have no record of this man's name in the diary.
Sajin ba ko en ko nyin to tente bulun na buko kono jande diary kan ka police lu kela ko safe dame.
So it was a bit of agreement between them.
Amunta natake nyo soso ti wala nyo sabati da manglu tema.
Then he decided to call his station officer.
Bitung ate fana yala nyaton ko kumandi memmarta station la station officer.
They just went on a corner side and then came back to me again at the counter.
Itata dende da manglu kullota inata murun kantara konti waro bala.
Then Sergeant Ba told me,
Utumo len sajin ba ko nyenko.
anyway, I have to keep you here until, my boss said I should keep you here until Monday.
Ko na nyaton ko ko nge muta jang hanu fo teneng.
Can you tell us the cumulative period you spent at the Banjul police station?
Afonye ye wati jelle ke Banjul police station oto ji.
6 nights.
Tili woro suto woro mbije.
The
And were
cell,
you, sorry, in cell?
in the compacted cell.
Selo fongo kono de.
About 12 people.
Nimmo tan nimfula.
Tell us about the conditions of detention there.
Mo muto mo yemenu mutaje akobe nyadile ku akoleata la fa be nyadile.
There was one concrete platform.
Amunta platform bija amunta molu la taradula amunta jemu concrete quality.
That was where I was welcomed by my host. Those are the detainees.
Amunta yendefa na mbentu njele njiati olu yemenu mutaje ulu yafanali mbentu obungule kono.
Because the other one who led us in the prayers,
Katu do mentambita nyato saliwato la.
he was called Ansumana Jammeh.
Ikafaine Ansumana Jammeh.
I inquired from him why he was here.
Nganyini nka muna na fanambiji.
He said, well, I was brought here 1 year, 7 months.
Akoya anati jai sanji killing kari woro wula kiji.
And which Ansumana Jammeh are you referring to?
Itebe Ansumana Jammeh jumalema.
Well, he told me his name is Ansumana Jammeh.
I memfonya kato mu Ansumana Jammeh leti.
He was detained there for at least 1 year, 7 months.
Andu ya mutaje ay sanji killing kari woro wula kiji.
Do you know who he was?
Yalo no jumalema woti.
He said he has a motor bicycle.
Ako masimale babulu motorcycle.
And he was alleged
Andu ya nyine fo atemako.
to plant what you call a juju.
Ko asita safeo kedulato.
Yeah, Jammeh's garden.
Ya Jammeh la nako kono.
Is he the same Ansumana Jammeh that is a relative of Yaya Jammeh?
No.
Fo ani wala wa Ansumana Jammeh ti yaya badi mu sedo ko hani.
So the other person who, I think he came here to testify,
Do nyi ngamira o fongne ne nata sede yaro la janne.
is called, I think, Ibu Jaju.
Ngamira ka fainde Ibu Jaju.
He was a steward to Yaya Jammeh.
Atemu Yaya Jammeh la amunta balu topoto lalti.
I inquired from him for why he's detained there.
Ngafana nyininka abe munalaje.
He said, I was put here, I'm here almost 8 months.
Akaya karisa ikijele.
Incommunicado, of course.
Andu afanandinga badi mbukadiamu animu bukanyoje.
I was alleged to poison the president because I was his steward to be serving him.
Awaira ateleka president la baluwoda da wala do morifengolo ya tu minyin la ko ate lafta president poison la nu kaposino kala do moroto.
So Monday morning,
tene lungu sumanda
I was escorted upstairs.
Yendandan kasele bunjango santo.
Serious crime unit.
Ilawo ku kolengulu bundala.
And I was shown a letter from the office of the president.
Ye letter o itanna membo ta president la office oto.
That I wrote to the president.
Kon ntelenga letter o safe ka ki president o ye.
A petition.
Memu petition ti wala mu ka kangolu faye.
It's the same petition.
Wala mu kaiti kilingoti.
Which was submitted at the High Court.
Me ya lonko ye wala fintindi kiti bunda ba nyi na ka fudame High Court.
Which I was claiming for unlawful termination.
Dame nga safe ko ye mbaydo ko la le menni sartolu mantanyola.
Unlawful detention.
Andu ye muta kan sindi dula killing menni luwa mantanyola.
And unlawful arrest.
Andu ye muta nyama menni luwa mantanyola.
So the contents of the letter
Pour membe safari letter o kuno bo pour ka o karang
is to bring Lamin Jammeh to task.
Wala pour ka Lamin Jammeh nati ka adundi kuto.
Just 3 paragraphs.
Amunta safaro borindi sabadoron ne bije.
So how do you call it, the Inspector Sanyang, I remember.
Kung hakilo baka nyami mo bije ka fa Inspector Sanyang
under the command of his boss, Lumo Kujabi.
Meya lonko abala nyaton ko la kango koto ka fome Lumo Kujabi.
Ask him to go and interrogate me.
Ko wasina atente nyininka.
But I said nothing to him.
Bari mam fem faye.
Were you eventually charged with any offense?
Foi na te 2000 ko nyin tinyari karleke.
Yes, they charged me giving false information to a public officer.
Yen tu minyin la konga kuma soto balwole fo mansakunda do kulai.
That was why I had to call my lawyer.
Wala ya sabu hani fo nganna lawyer kumandi
to intervene again.
Pour ay wuli ay kutamandi koteke.
But Jesus denied me bail.
Abalanta pour yem bail
until the intervention of my lawyer again.
Hani fo na lawyer wulta koteke ay kolu mamandi
with the former Deputy Commissioner Inspector General of Police, Mr. Gay.
We hani fo wotumo men naketa Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gay,
and Commissioner Jammeh Conta,
and Commissioner Jammeh Conta,
that they met the present Interior Minister,
Konyin Tembeng Inimo Bentame Yalon Kolem Interior Minister Tisaying,
Yankuba
Sonko,
who granted me to be taken to court for bail.
Me Yalon ko Ayin Kamodi Puri and Samba Kiti Bunda la facing bail.
Another time, Yankuba Sonko, what was his position within the Gambia Police Force?
Watembo Yankuba Sonko, Mumpalas le Babulu, Gambia Police Force la Carola.
He was then the Commissioner of Prosecution.
Watumo Atelemu Commissionati Menu Marta Kitindiro Kunyala.
And you have provided a copy of your charge sheet?
Yes, I have provided this.
Yetu Mikumakan Lumenla ya Kaito Dinale.
With reference number B6908.
B6908 Wolemu Animaro Nyinti.
And it is dated May 2008.
Correct.
May 2008 sango wala besaferi ngabala.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add the said charge sheet into record. It's headed in the Banjul Magistrates Court, Inspector General of Police versus Lamin Jammeh as Exhibit 168E.
Request granted. Counsel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And were you eventually arraigned before any court?
Yes, I was arraigned before B.Y. Kamara. And he granted me bail. So after the bail, we went for the first hearing. It was in fact a very short, how do you call it, presentation.
Because
the evidence
Katu itelie menko mengi mutako sedo momenti.
With the prosecution.
Kitindirla la Carola.
That I was charged for giving false information to a public officer. Supported by the letter from the office of the president.
Can you just help us understand what false information you were alleged to have supplied and to what public officer?
It was based on the petition I wrote in 2007 to direct to the president. About corruption at the council. So,
did it have anything to do about your termination, your unlawful termination, that particular letter?
Letter of fire kusotole menni ila bondo keta me sababu ke ila bondo tido kudla.
I am quite sure he was aware of it. This is why they instead applied what you call abuse of court. What is pending at the Court of Appeal against the state is this reverse to a lower court on me. It's illogic.
I'm not too sure if I understand what you mean, Mr. Jammeh, but I realized that there was a writ of summons, which we have already tendered into evidence,
yes,
in which you were claiming unlawful termination by the state.
Yes.
And the charges before the court as well were in direct relation to that claim of unlawful termination by the state. Even though you were actually acting on your constitutional rights to file a case for legal remedy from the courts, did you feel like you were being harassed and suppressed by the state?
Ibe lorin damen holem nyinti ko ibe la nyanto le kam pour ka ila ko no masata kiti bunda la to nyakan barbitu nyinata ke kutime ya lonko ibe tumi kanke batandi la nyanto kan.
Exactly. So.
Thank you very much. And you have already provided us with a letter dated the 1st day of March 2017, and it's titled Case Review on Wrongful Termination of Appointment, former CEO, Brikama Area Council.
Amunda silang inata kaito itandi na March karo tilifolo 2017
yeah.
Ka foko ye kuome wulindi te kama wato men ibe CEO yala Brikama Area Council.
And is this the letter you're referring to, which led to your charges?
Ninom letter oti be memma menata asabu hanu fo ye tumi.
Or was this is a different letter actually? This came in 2017.
Fonyi mu letter do leti katu nyinata 2017 samale kono.
Do you have a copy of the letter?
I have a copy of the letter, but
letter o be where? Sedo ka letter o babulle.
That is based on the clarion call by the president, the sitting president. Those affected by Yaya Jammeh's termination, dismissal, and the removal from office.
Wobelarin kolle ka meni alonko Yaya Jammeh la mararo wuche okono ka mbondi do kola ka kangulu tamandin ka me alonko wol bemu kuma kangul leti men butete la karola.
It's just a preview of exactly what happened to me. The ordeal that happened to me.
Yeah, but do you have a copy of the letter? That's what I'm asking. Because I do not seem to have a copy here with me.
No, it's there.
It's dated what date?
I can't remember because I wrote this whilst I was in the United Kingdom.
United Kingdom.
Yeah, I don't seem to have a copy here with me. Perhaps we'll sort it out later.
Okay.
Okay. But based on this letter, you said these charges were made against you.
Yes, exactly.
And based on the claims that you had made before the High Court as well.
Exactly.
High Court fanang.
Right.
What eventually happened in this case at the Banjul Magistrates Court?
Banjul Magistrate Court, munku anata labanyadi leji.
Well, it was twisted, everything, because after the first hearing, B.Y. Kamara,
ye kolu yele mandile ye londi kumala. Kadu brinsi follow botala B.Y. Kamara nyati
he
limula.
asked me to report for the next hearing
Ay nyim fonye kongana ndanku si fulanjangola.
that is going to pass the ruling.
Wolunne ma anyanta kito nyintela.
So we went for that ruling,
Ntataje wolung.
but I was informed by the court scribe,
Bari saferla membe kitibunda laje wenyin kibaro fonye ko.
informed me that B.Y. Kamara had been promoted as justice at the High Court.
B.Y. Kamara la palaso ya la fale sayen kitindirla le mwati High Court.
But even though his ruling is not typed,
Bari hani ofango alanta kolu kuntula dameng amansa fede.
nonetheless, I will let's forward the matter to another magistrate.
Bari wonyanyandi mbe konyin tentendila kadi magistrate dola.
That was Magistrate Kayode.
Wala ikafama magistrate Kayode.
Did the case eventually come to conclusion?
Fo kito nyin nata kele hanfa nata bambang.
It transferred from B.Y. Kamara to Kayode,
Yeah.
and from Kayode to, how do you call it, Lamin Penku George's son.
Ya saundile kabo B.Y. Kamara kata Kayode ya. Inata bondi Kayode ya samba Lamin Georgia. Wala mpenku George dingo.
With no end in sight.
Hanim bi mankuo dandulaje.
And within what period are we talking about that it was transferred to 3 different magistrates?
Woye wuche jeleta ka sounding hanfa nyim magistrate sabobe ama.
2 weeks adjournment, 2 weeks adjournment.
Lokum fula dendiro ikawleke.
And did you eventually do anything?
Folum kunata kele bayte mentamandi.
Well, I only knew that it's just a waste of my time.
Nanyi lonko benna wato le tinya kandoro.
And they were trying to take a revenge.
Amunde benyina kata kan purka ila kamfa jindinte kan.
Just to punish me
Purka kan taji kan tilimbali adoro.
for writing that petition.
Puru dalilo me ya sabu ngao petition o safe.
Just to waste my time unnecessarily.
Kanna wato tinya me ya lonko nyawnyandintala.
So the charges were not legitimate as far as you were concerned?
Amunde tumirolu menu foema manke ku lorinti.
No, actually.
To nyala.
That was why I enclosed another, by my lead counsel, Mr. Mbouch,
Wala
to
nata
claim for
mala nata do safer do dundi na kansule men dundi Mr. Mbouch purka nyin kaning
that it was abuse of court
ko kiti bunda fango ye nyanta tinyale kije.
and to claim back for my refund of 22,000 lost air ticket.
Anim fana nga tiketo sang kuluntila tiketo sang dalasi ulimu anim fulo menna pur ya sayima.
So this was a different suit from your suit of unlawful termination that was already pending before the High Court?
Exactly.
Munta nyindo mu kudo leti memu samanir koti menning ila kudo fatata ye bay tilimbali ya kamme ya lonko tumo abe High Court.
Did you file this case whilst your criminal charges were still pending?
Fodun yenyin don dundile wato men ila tumir folo ki kolbelari.
Yes, it was filed.
Ha ya dundile.
It was filed against me.
Ya dundinte kamma.
No, I mean your civil case that you filed.
Amunta ite ko men dundinu ila kolu kamma kafo.
The one that, yes, you were asking for compensation for your air ticket, was that filed during the pending criminal case? Or was it after?
Kodo kanin kan damin. Ya dundile bang wato men ila nyin kitidobe kilori.
No, this happened after the High Court case.
Keta bring High Court kito nyimbotala.
That is why I enclosed a letter from London inviting me to attend as an international expert to deliver lectures on country planning at Liverpool.
Wala nanga letero dundije letero me ya lonko ya safenye kabuna London kambunya kumandi purungata mabe wo bengoto ngadiya mo kije yo wala nanga o letero dundije ko wo mun sedo leti.
And we have a copy of that
Yes.
invitation letter as well as a copy of your air ticket at the time.
That's
Yo
right.
ila o letero a copy bembulu janne hanila kuluntila ticket o fanan a copy bembulu jang.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to tender the said letter dated the 26th April 2008, which is headed Cultural regeneration, the return of the City International Federation of Housing and Planning Annual Conference, Liverpool, 1st to 2nd June 2008. And it's attached, the passenger ticket and baggage check is also attached. I would like to tender it as Exhibit 168F.
Request granted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And can you tell us when you filed this particular case? Because I don't have a copy of the claim here.
Yo, ela kanindiro de okaito tembulu jang. So afanyeng yadundi utuma jumale.
Which case? Sorry?
This case where you're asking for compensation of your air ticket.
Be kanindiro la damen purke la air ticket kolo jo.
That is the magistrate court.
Wala magistrate kiti
that I was charged.
Giving
false information.
Was it within the same case?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I understand that you filed a separate case, a civil case, for compensation.
The case at the High Court, I was requesting by my lawyer $705,000 for damages. And the court at magistrate court
High Court wolem dalas keme worowula aning wuli keme worowula aning wuli talulu puru mantoro nin kasaro mel latankan bari nyindong membe magistrate court.
It was a claim for $500,000 for damages. Plus my refund for $22,000 for air ticket.
Aning inyanta mbuluma sayla menna ngadalasi wulimu anim flow depends kulunti ticket onyunkuna.
Okay, I don't want to belabor the point, but I just wanted to make a distinction between these two claims because we've already filed in evidence your claim for unlawful dismissal, termination.
Malafiko mendila dorombare bitung purka nyin dinkiralu besene yandi kebo nyoto kulu fatanta nyamani lata nyami ila kanindirolu kono.
My understanding was that there was a subsequent claim for compensation because this happened much later after you had filed this first case at the High Court.
Exactly.
So I did not have a copy of that particular claim here before me.
You don't have it?
No, I don't. But it's okay.
I think I saw it enclosed. Where you have the charges.
It's okay, we'll sort it out, Mr. Jammeh, but I don't have it on me. Do you remember the date?
Let me check if I have it here.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's it.
All right, thank you very much. I understand what you mean. This was a motion or an application that was filed within the same criminal suit at the Banjul Magistrates Court asking for compensation.
Magistrate Court.
Magistrate Court.
Okay. And I believe this motion was subsequently dismissed, is that correct?
No, because I absconded. Yeah, so the court didn't continue again.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to tender the said motion on notice, which is dated the 13th day of June 2008 as Exhibit 168G.
And request granted, counsel.
Thank you very much. And can you tell us how you absconded from the jurisdiction, please?
Well, I arranged a date And I passed through the Gambia ferry terminal.
Ntatan Gambia ferry olela kabo banyunu.
I was then handling just a plastic handbag
Amunda otumo nyim plastic handbag ndingo dorone bembulu.
with my old shoe inside.
Nasamata koto bakono.
But then I had to ask my son to deliver, so to carry my suitcase.
But wo janni wo ngandi ma wulindi ka ki prayen na woliso sambanyato.
And that's the time I absconded
Wato le mumborta ngabanko bula.
through Senegal.
Kadunni Senegal la.
And I was able to pay for another air ticket
Tumo lo nata kulunti la ticket dojo.
via Lisbon to Zurich, then to London.
Kabo Lisbon kata Zurich kata London.
Because by then my visa didn't expire.
Kato tumo na visa mambang.
That's why I absconded.
Why
did you feel the need to abscond in the middle of your criminal case?
Munana yaje ko nyimuite fe ku kendelti pour yebore yebanko bula andu wotumo ila kitobe tamakan.
Because I realized it was an abuse of court.
It
was a violation of my own human rights. And it was sheer wickedness that after removing me from my position, bring another allegation on top of what, which I feel is not justifiable. That is why I had to abscond.
Did you expect that justice would be done at the end of that case?
There was no justice in the Gambia at the time. Because when I returned, I made inquiries back to Banjul Magistrate Court.
Before we get there, I just want to deal with the issue of your bail, because usually in criminal cases, you are bailed.
During
and this is to secure your appearance during the course of the criminal trial. Can you tell us who bailed you in that case?
It was my daughter who bailed me. By her ID card.
ID card I am bail.
Bail bond was about 25,000.
Did anything happen to her after you had absconded?
Yeah, she was warned to pay. Otherwise, she'll be detained and be taken to prison.
So what happened after that warning?
Well, they have been putting surveillance. Where even my own son was living. So, for my daughter, she was able to secure American visa. That's the way she also absconded. But I directed her to come and pay that 25,000. And that was paid. But there was no receipt issued to her.
Before that, did anything happen to any other member of your family?
That's my son, who was struggling all along under surveillance until he was detained at NIA for at least 5 days. And he was tortured. He was released.
How old was your son at the time?
He was about 14 years. Grade 10.
Grade 10.
Then,
And what was his name?
Trrc Jammeh.
Trrc Jammeh.
Do you know what was done to him exactly?
Fo yalo ne munimuna kala nung je alaw muto kono.
Torture, beating, laceration.
Ya mutale ya lipa hanufo abalo din kiralu farata.
Yes.
And do you know why this was done to him?
Yalo ne muna na yokala.
That you must prove to us where your father is.
Ko aya faye afa mabedame.
And how did that make you feel as a father? That your son had to go through something like this because of you?
Yo cha nyadile ya je nyadile ko ite mu wulula lete idimma nata tara yo ku fasongo kala.
Actually, it was inhuman.
Womu kuleti me yalon ko hadama dingu manyan no nyong kelaw nyong dindingola.
What I did not suffer
Ntema mbata men take.
is what has been portrayed to my family.
Yo le kenna dimbayal.
Because he was my elder son,
Katu atele mundinke foloti.
and he was the one who escorted me
Andu atele mboti me yente dandang.
to Banjul police station.
Kata Banjun police station oto.
So obviously,
Woto wayaitandiko.
they'll just follow him up
Ibe bulalatele noma.
that he must produce your father.
O fere aya fama bondi.
And was he detained at the Banjul police station at the time?
O tembo ya fana mutale ka sindi Banjul police station oto.
The Banjul police station is about 3 days.
Banjul police station tilisaba.
NIA was about 5 days.
NIA tili lulu.
All with torture.
Benin tilimbali al tata nyola.
Do you know how often they tortured him during those 5 days that he was at the NIA?
O tili lulu menga ake NIA fo ya ibota kalamale wati ni wati sinyajelu ikawo tilimbali al kala.
Well, for the first and second occasion, that's at NIA and at the police station,
Sinya folo ni mfulanjao NIA ni police station oto.
I had informations
Na kibaro lusoto.
from our family members,
Na badi ngulukono na dimbaya lukono.
and upon that, I also inquired from him,
Anga wolbe kola nata fango nyininka.
until he had to send me his photograph of all the, lacerations and, torture that was meted on him.
Hanufo ay natalo lukinye. Ka balaja to natali liparo men kala ay balajata farolu men ka balajato bala ayo natalo lukinye.
So he also had to abscond.
Ate fanang anatala bambur lale.
Because he sold the taxi that I bought for him.
Ato taxi o men nga sanga aya wafi.
Then that's the way he went by the back way.
Atata back la wala nyama.
Currently now in Germany.
Nyintembeng abe Germany.
My daughter is in USA today.
Ndimuso wobe America bi.
Do you remember when he was arrested and detained and tortured at the NIA?
Foi hakilo sa mutale wato men ya muta ka samba NIA katao tajire yalu kalaji.
I think I got information at least 2 months. 2 months when I was in UK.
Nakarifulo ka UK tumo menalo nata kibaro moy.
Do you remember around what year that was?
Foi hakilo sa muta sanjuma le moti.
I arrived in UK 15th of August 2008.
2008 August karo tiltang ani lulu mfutata UK wolungale.
And I got the information from family here as well as he himself. In December.
Did he tell you who was responsible for his torture at the NIA?
No, I didn't ask him that.
No,
How many times was he detained at the NIA? Was it just once?
Just once.
Was he detained anywhere else apart from NIA and the Banjul police station when he was with you?
No. Honey.
These were the only 2 places.
Kindly tell us what the impact of this experience has had on you.
Well, it's adulthood, and I know impact it only had on me is the fact that my children were maltreated. And I was also deprived
andung ye mbali fanang
for having any relationship with my family
purunina dimbayalu kana chokinyola wo chokinyola soto
whilst being detained in detention.
wato men ye muta
And at the time also,
andu wato fanang
I had a child who was just 7 months old
dingo be mbulu me ya lon ka be kari woro wulale
when I had to leave her behind.
wala fereti je fangatun koma.
And in 2009,
between 2009 sango kono
I received the news again.
nata nyin kibaro moy ko take ko
One of my younger son,
ndingulu kono kilimbije
who was also in grade 5,
membe nun grade 5
passed away.
abanta
And I couldn't say farewell to him.
andun namang saranyola no
But apart from that too,
namang ke o fuloti
even my own wife, whom I found to be my best friend,
hanim fongo futu muso me ya lon ko a telemun terolu teroti otumo
requested divorce.
ay nyin kanim bulu ko nga futu o bang
I tried all means
nga fero be kata
to maintain her,
pour hanim be ay sidron
but she refused.
bara manso
And then the divorce was even granted at Brikama Magistrate Court.
futu bango nyim fongo
Kadi Scott.
ya ke kadi kiti bunda la brikama
Then when I went to find another woman,
birinta ta musudo nyining
well, we got married, of course,
na fututa
and 4 months later,
karina ni tambiringo
she told me that she heard from the people
ay nyim moy kaya moy mulu la
that
ko
I had a problem with Yaya Jammeh,
kon ni ya jammele problem ko le akosoto
that I will never come back to Gambia again,
kon den netina gambia kotake
and also requested for divorce.
wo fanan ko na e futu o bang
And that's it.
akata wala nyam
It's all impacted on my lifetime.
wo be ketan nan na baluwo kono.
And I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Jammeh. I know that you went through really difficult things, and indeed you were not able to come into the country whilst Yaya Jammeh was in power. When did you eventually come back?
Si haketu Mr. Jammeh nyimbe keta kuti me alonga koleate kan andu kula me alonga sangarata yo ndu ngani lonko ite sayno la nam banko kan wayre wato me Yaya Jammeh be mararola sila inata sayna watu yimale.
I returned on the 1st of December 2017.
Nsetanan December karotili follow 2017.
That was after you had made sure that Yaya Jammeh was no longer
He's
in
gone.
power.
Wala mnyinti wato me yalonko Yaya Jammeh tijang sedo ko ha watu atata
Because at the Banjul Magistrate Court,
kado Banjul Magistrate Court
if you read the other newspaper edition,
ni kibar kayti do nyim fanan karang
it was mentioned there is a bench warrant against me.
ye nyim foko ye waranto parendi wala muta kaito me ka fay bench warrant pour kante muta.
And you have provided about 3 newspaper cuttings, all related to your case, and I will tender them in. We won't have time to go through them.
Ye kibar kayti kuntu sabadin na me yalon ko bebe dendi la kitolla nde wato soto na pour ka dungulu be kono bari bitum ibijang.
But the commissioners will be supplied with them so that they can go through it at their pleasure.
Mba futandi la commissioner lu be male pour lu be sa jube mune be safari ngo kayto lu bala.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to tender 3 newspaper cuttings into evidence as Exhibit 168H.
Sorry, did you give the exhibit number?
Yes, I did.
Oh.
168H.
Oh, splendid. Request granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jammeh, also when you came back, did anything happen in regards to your unlawful dismissal?
Mr. Jammeh bri murutana ye bay nyame men ni silo mantanyola fo ku keta wotole bang.
Did you pursue this case with the new government?
Fo ya ko normale bang ininyi mansakunda kuto.
Indeed, I did so.
Nga katale de.
I was granted what you call reinstatement and retirement.
Ye mendin na wala mnyinti ko ye murundi palaso nyinto barbitung anin ko tata nyola nyamin walem ya munta retirement walem nado ko wala dawato sita.
And as a pensioner,
Ko bitu wairi sila ntemu pensionati
I cannot any longer
nte nyim femfen kenola
be employed into civil service,
Purka do ko soto man sakunda do ko bundala.
which I know
Me ya lon kon te ngalon ne
is false.
o mu kuma soto baloleti.
That is why I opened my own business
Wala na ngam fansun safar bunda dayele.
to be a consultant,
Purka ke do ko lu sambarango lonnati.
as well as to be, how do you call it, do construction on my own.
Anim fanan sikari lo roke ning mensulata la sarra.
But I went back to High Court, so I called onto my lawyer
Bari nganna lawyer kumandi
to find out if my case can be continued.
fo na kito nyim fo sa tentendino.
What he informed me was that
Mem fo nya wala nyinti ko
for civil cases in the Gambia,
pour moni mote makito lu Gambia jang
it is a policy
sarto le nyinti
after 6 years
nin sanji woro tambita
means that case is just expired.
wala nyinti ko wo kito la wato bandale.
If it is criminal cases,
Nin kruya kito le mu
that can take as long as it takes.
wo ka wati janguta no le ko fo janni wati o wati.
But I didn't rest on that.
Bari mankolu dandi woto de.
I had to go to High Court myself
Mfangale tata High Court
to inquire
pour ka nyinin ka roke
whether the state filed an appeal here.
fodu mansakunda ya kiti sayin kango dundi jele.
We went through the archives.
Ntate la kaiti kotolu kaiti maboringulu kono
There was no mention
kuma man foje fang
of my case being filed
men ketanna kitoti ka fo asafeta jele
to a court of appeal.
men sike kiti sayin kango bundati.
So to date, you have received no adequate compensation for your unlawful dismissal, either from the state or through the courts.
Monta fo kana abula bila buluma say manke itela karola kabo man sabala karola wala bang kiti bundal la karola ila ko nyinta mata nyame.
Absolutely nothing.
Sedo ko fem manke.
You have also supplied the correspondence through the office of the president, just talking about your unlawful termination.
Yes.
Ye kaito fanan dinna le men keta ila bayri nyati men nin loi manta nyola men tambita nin president la office otola.
As well as your desire to be reinstated and retired.
Anim fanan ko lafta la nyame pour ye murundi do ko la anim fanan kana e do ko nyin ila wuci do ko wuce nyin ka bula ke da.
We have your application directly to the office of the president as well as their response.
Nga letro soto ye men sa fe kata president la office oto ani ye jabi menna.
And I would like, Mr. Chairman, to tender those last pieces of evidence as Exhibit 168I.
Request granted, Council.
Thank you very much.
Council, I want to, sorry, may I take permission? I'm pressed. I want to go to the toilet.
We are just about to conclude. Can you wait?
I just want to pass water.
Actually, you have the concluding remarks. All right, please, you can go ahead.
Please.
Thank you. Yes, sorry about that.
Which way?
Mr. Chairman, I just have to apologize that we've gone over the period, but we're just about to conclude. I just wanted to finish it, and then we'll take a break for the next witness.
Thank you. You were very daring in asking him to wait.
Indeed.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
No, that's okay. I hope you're fine now.
Yes, I'm okay.
All right. I had actually come to the end of my questions, unless you have anything else to add, but you will be given an opportunity during your concluding remarks.
Amunta ngana nyinin karo ntefutata bandulato le barbitum febe kuma sotula ebe men fola barbitum hanembi mbe silo dile lale pour itefana mbela dia mo kumfala kuma kanglu menula.
Mr. Chairman, I hand over the witness to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel, and thank you, Mr. Lamin Jammeh, for coming to testify before the Commission.
Chairman e Council numbara bari Mr. Jammeh abe fana numbara la isonta kana CDR la commission nyatilimula.
And I'm truly sorry that you and your family had to endure so much in the hands of the NIA.
Ise haketu inila dimbayalu ali mantoro taki men warata NIA ulubulu.
One quick question on my part. Your son, Sheriff Jammeh, when the 5 days that he spent at the NIA and was tortured, was he 14 years old at that time?
Idimma Sheriff Jammeh. Wato men ya mutayo tililulo menke NIA ulubulu hanfo ya tajire ya fo be ya tara wotembo fo ya tara be sanji tanin nani.
Yes, sir.
Ha to nyala.
Thank you very much. Extraordinary. A minor being subject to torture is extraordinary.
Nimuku kebalote dindingu men ya lonko awulu sanbe temberin wo tembo pour ka mutaka tajire ya wo mukuleti men ya lonko akita kawa koti.
Commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate. Otherwise, Imam Jallo, you have the floor, please.
Imam Jallo lafte nyinin kala.
Mr. Witness,
Akosedo,
I am very sorry for what police brutality.
Ngalo dunia mume obeko no police la tilimbali anin tajireya.
Other arms of the forces are now also involved.
Adu na kanto nintankada bunda la karakotangulu fanaliye dabula o tilimbali ya ku kilingol.
You have experienced all these difficult conditions.
Ite nyin ku kolengulu mume betaki.
What could you advise government to stop, to possibly put measures to stop this type of behavior of our armed forces?
Ibe mune ya maro di la mansakundala. Puru mansakunda si wuli ye feroke. Puru nyin tajire ya men kanto nintankada bundalu men mu security bundaluti ya bula.
The second question is,
you've
also had experience working in area councils. I'm surprised to hear that all these things are happening in this country. What advice again could you give to government to regulate our councils,
ensure
that the monies collected will be used for the well-being of the people of the environment? Thank you.
Thank you, Imam. Well, actually, the root cause of all these irregularities or inhuman treatment is all part of what you call corruption. As for the police force, I think it's by now proper let their services be upgraded. Their income to prevent corruption. Before, is unlike today. Because you have human rights as pillar of our democracy. But nonetheless, at least they should also be equipped to ensure that They have what you call body cameras.
Satara bala camera lubekering camera lumembetara telephone lubalo bala.
So that any event that may happen,
Purukundi naketa.
it will be brought before the law.
Isanati lua nyati limu.
This is how it happened.
Kajeko aketa tenne.
And the police also.
Andum poliso lufanang.
There must be what you call warrants.
Nyanyanta talaje ikafume ya warrant mensi kusabu.
To serve people
Puru ibe mendila mulula.
who are alleged to be convicts.
Meya lonko isafoko inyanta wolle kitindila ke londisiloka.
And without a warrant being served to a person who is supposed to be arrested,
Ning imawo warrant kaito di mola inyanta memutala.
it can create what you call struggle.
Andu asikeno ku sababoti mensike nyo sabati.
But on the other hand,
Bari karado fanana
they should be taught
inyante karandilale.
what is human rights.
Munam hadama ya nyantoti.
Because this has been a program
Katu nyimu program leti
that was introduced by this government.
me ya lonko nyimansa kundale yo dundi.
But they are not also obeying it.
Bari imantara son kangamade imantara tamandi kang.
And this has to be enforced.
Adun wo faike kuti ibe men tamandila.
Again,
Koteke
you have so many lawsuits
kiti samandir kiti jamal lesot kiti samandir jamal lesot na kito
on
la.
criminal offenses
Menu keta kuruya silolu ti tonyendiro luto.
like burglary,
Menu keta ko sunyaro
nuisance,
mkamulu detendidulato ke dewundi.
which even if it is reported to the police,
Me yalon ko hanni ya kibaro di polisolla.
they will take their course to take it to courts.
Isi silo tano purka samba kito bunda.
But the courts delay,
Bari kiti bunda lekana tarde wonati.
and this normally causes their frustration.
Adu niwo dukundi tawonya wole kana ke moli jikiti nyati.
And it also frustrates the complainant.
Adu memfanga ya kuosamba kito bundala afanankana jikitinya le soto akuokono.
So as for law enforcement officers,
Woto lua tamandilalu.
they have to make sure
Inyanta jelale ko.
they also know the law proper.
Ifanguli lua long anyama.
Because most of them, they don't even know what is A to Z in the Constitution.
Dolu fangolu be kono na bankola marali sartu buko constitution onyi. Hani kabo e kata Z imam femfe lonje.
They don't know it.
Imalo.
Even those in the traffic.
Hani menu be traffico kansilo kang.
So many irregularities, abnormalities is happening in the traffic.
Ku ke bali jamal le kake traffico kono.
But they are not aware of it.
Bari tilo mahani bo kala mafang.
So as for that case,
Woto ya sabu.
I would advise the government
Mbeman sakunda ya marla.
to what you call review,
Puru ka kuolu sayin kan jube.
what you call police reform.
Puru ka falingu nati poliso fananu la bundala.
Then for area councils,
Puru area council ludung.
the word corruption still remains, is embedded.
Ikavanyi me corruption na karoni ntapalea amunta we sulo dunne foka pare area council bundala.
To get it eroded,
Puru ka o sulo lu wutu.
it will take time.
Abe wato talal.
Because the executive
Ka tu kunton kabunda.
have hands
Wo fangole bulo soto akono.
the income of the councils.
Bulle bulo soto council bundala soto bulo kono.
Unless
Ning amanke ko.
we break that arm of government, civil servants,
Mansakunda ni mansakunda do kula lu fanale ka soto menke wana karoni o takpale ya bunda lu to nimmo wo bulo lu kati.
supporting the councils
Pour ka council bunda lu makoy.
for their own benefits.
Pour fangol la tineo kang.
Unless that ends,
Ni wo tapale ya ni o nakaro man lo.
we will always be struggling with this corruption.
Ni nyin nakaro ni tapale ya betar la nyo sabala drong.
And one thing I know,
Andun kukilim beje ngamello.
councils at the stage now,
Council lu betembe da mento sai.
you have the Local Government Act 2002,
Mansakunda ringol la loi me ya londi 2002.
Local Government Finance Audit Act 2004,
Anin kontibo fana na karola e melondi mansakundaringo la karola 2004.
which I participated to write.
Me ya lo nte fanga tarta molu kono men ya safe.
Then all the contents
Bari membe be saferi ngo kono
are not enforced.
ibukata man different.
They only talk about decentralization.
Ika men fodoro wolem decentralization wole ka kolu wolem nyinti ka bunda do ko bunda la kolu janjandi dinkira o dinkira aya fansul lodula soton.
It's not going that same way.
Bara mantara taka wo nyama de.
It is centralization.
Amunta janjandiro.
That is self-interest.
This is
why there are so many amendments to suit the government. Gambia is a small country. You don't need to have governors. Because they should have power. The power remains within the people. Now, if you subtract or if you reduce or if you contract that power from the people, obviously there will be no development. We are only collecting the revenues without applying it back to the people. This is where corruption takes effect. Now, those at the hem of business, the hem of the, how do you call it, decentralization process, they are not intelligent enough. They are not knowledgeable enough what actually decentralization means. So all the funds that will be gathered for revenue collection is all going in vain. Because the council should be responsible for the development of their area of jurisdiction. And this is not happening. So I think, I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jammeh, if you have any concluding remarks to make, please proceed to make them now.
Mr. Jammeh, ifanang ilakacha iba kumfala damin nin kumakanglu bebulu ilafta menu fala ifanang si tentensilan yo kumakanglu banke.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Chairman.
I appreciate the invitation to be here.
Kankumandi jang kana sedearo la jang akitanye sewoti.
And I appreciate the hospitality I received.
Andu yenjia nyame yebunya men dinna akitanye sewoti.
And I'm also proud to be associated with the Commission.
Adu nyin kitanye nganyati prunin nyin commission e kusoto nyotema.
Because I was also a member of the Constitutional Review Commission.
Adu ndefana mumoleti mentartanun Constitutional Review Commission kono wolem banko la Constitution kuto menda data menu sita kunna ndefana mbewlu kono le.
But your commission has a long way to go.
Bara lanyin commission yo sila jangole sotal bita menna.
And it's the best commission.
Andu atemu nyontangoleti.
Best in the sense that
na fo ala nyonta ya momenti
you stand on the pillars of human rights.
Albeloring hadamaya nyanto barumalu fangoleka.
Violation.
Menu keta nyanta tinyaluti.
So the victims,
bitung wom nyanta tinyalata menu kang,
one way or the other,
nyawnyandi nyama karawo karala,
must give you their support.
Full finally la makoiro dialla.
So that you are able to achieve your noble goal.
Pour alisi futano Allah hammo momenti ali nyanta doku kendo menkela memu doku forlingoti.
You have different series of testimonies that you had.
Aliyesia de ar jamal le moy jande.
But mine actually is based on corruption.
Abelaring tajireya nin nakaro nin top tapaleo yale kan.
But my experience tells me
bari nalondo ye memfonye
I first have to apologize Gambians.
Follow funga Gambian kulu bolo sai.
Because I was part of it.
Katum fanamba kono le nung.
Giving support to Yaya Jammeh.
Mbe Yaya Jammeh fasa kanka makoy.
And then I know.
Bare nga long.
I base my support
Now makoiro ngala menkang.
on their quest for what you call probity,
Wolem itele memfonun ko kunding iba akisikisilale.
transparency,
Ko kunding iba lankena malale.
and accountability,
Andun ko kunding iba konto seneyandilale.
as well as soldiers with difference.
Anim fana men foko itel mu sojaro leti menni sojar dolu fatat.
But that was a ploy
Bari yara wo mu fero leti nu.
I regret to support.
Wo mu fere leti men yalo nima sata munan na ngolo nge makoy.
This is why I have to apologize to all Gambians.
Nyina nambe Gambian kolu bebolo saila.
We are the main host.
Ntelem jiatiolu fangoluti.
We have been wailing.
Ntele meta kumala.
We have been hailing.
Ntele meta kankulala.
We have been praise singing.
Meta jairola.
Jammeh Jammeh.
Jaya Jammeh la karola.
That is why
Wala ya sabu.
he resembles himself
Afanga ya fang mulunguta.
as God of the nation.
Aya famuta ko atelom nyimbanko la alati.
We are responsible for doing that.
Ntelem amunta nteleyo baro ke hanufo ayo manya ayo jikota.
So obviously,
Woto aseneata ko
I will also recommend
mbenyi ya maro fanandila.
leaders should show by sample.
Nyaton kolu nyanta kela santiyongo letika santiyongo yitandi.
Not only the civilians, ordinary civilians like me.
Amanke civilian ngoti wole bankudingulu damati konte be nyami.
Among the executive as well.
Bari kunton kolu fanalu damangulu kono.
The president must appear here.
President ase finti jang
Because during the impasse,
katu wato men abalanta
he ran away to go to Senegal.
aborta kata Senegal.
The vice president also
Vice President Ofanang
should be invited to appear.
inyanta kumandila e finti jang.
When she was heading the Gamco track,
Wato men abenyaton kaya la gamko trap
what maltreatment she encountered.
ay mantoro lumenu taki wotumo abe o palasoto.
This is why I said leaders must show by example.
Wala nan ko nyaton ko lu fanali nyanta santiyongo le yitandila.
We are only rankings,
Ntel dolu mum palasi tioleti.
rankings, come in normal uncle.
Yo ntel muna malanko leti.
But nonetheless,
Bari o nyanding
we as Gambians,
ntelu Gambian kulu.
we are Africans.
Mbemu mo fi ngol leti de.
When politics come,
Nim politiko nata.
let it not cause any division.
Akana fatam fanso dundin tema.
Government as a whole
Man sakunda mume obe.
has to be accountable,
E nyanta ye lo silo kam mensi la kontolu seneyandi.
because Gambia today,
Katu Gambia bi.
we are all suffering from what you call inflation.
Mbebe bata kan munela wolen ka kolu kono fanundi ka kolu kibirindi.
There is no price control.
Lodulate marsandiso ludala nyimbanko kan.
And you disregard,
Andu nyaka so keta
let's say the experts, those are the retirees.
mlonna lumen yalon ko wollebe fonyo kono bi daadu kolla.
That you disregard them to be included in the public service.
Ye nyaka si wolula pour que dundi jamadu ku bundalula.
Now you are putting the wrong people in the right place.
Amunta molu mem manyan natar la palasol to be wolle ke kan anyanta palasolu to.
This is why the politicians, we must not allow for them to divide us.
Wala nan kanasong politician oli yem fatam fansindi.
And we must also try to make sure
Nyanta katalele fanan kajeko.
they don't buy our integrity.
Ikanan na foroya sang.
They don't buy our dignity
Ikanan na bunya sang.
by money.
Ka kodota ka oke
Because
kwoti.
once you bribe us,
Katu niye nduku
the poor one,
fentango.
he will start to praising you.
Abadamu la purke mari jamu.
When in the end,
Arbandulato
he will be the victim.
mantoro bina la telekang.
This is why I said I must have to apologize all Gambians
Gola na nganyim foko mbe Gambian kolu bebolo saila.
that supporting Yaya Jammeh
Ko ka Yaya Jammeh fasa utumo
was a regret,
ketante ndimisa baleti.
because I was the initiator of what you call Committee for the Defense of the Revolution.
Katun tefang be molle kono menni ya lon ko keta committee ote pour ka revolutiono nyim fasa.
I was the national chairman,
Ntele ketela national chairman ti.
and I raised,
Andu nganyim wulindi
promoted,
andun ka kinko nyinko fanan kidimandi
Yaya Jammeh to be where he was yesterday.
pour que Yaya Jammeh futandi dulato abenun damin kunun
Until the amalgamation
hani fo kafunyolo na take
to be pillars.
pour que nake barumaluti
No, pillars. Yeah, there is a movement called pillars.
hani fo kafona talo kafo me pillars.
There is a movement called how do you call it, Moja,
kafo fana mi je kafo me moja
led by Tamsir Jallo,
me yalan ko Tamsir Jallo le yo nyaton kaya
which plus my own movement
aninte fangola kafo
to come together
pour ye kafo nyoma
to form July 22nd.
pour que July 22nd kafo londi.
So we are the what you call the pioneers
amuntante leketa nyaton kaluti
of that revolution.
wo revolution oto.
And I also happen to become the chairperson of APRC Sukuta branch.
aduntel nata ke APRC la sirantiote sukuta la karola.
And I happen also to be the vice chairman of APRC Commonwealth District.
adun kombono tundo kan sirantio no lanko ketante mo kelingoleti.
But with all the wailing,
bari nyin wurolu be
with all the frustration sitting under the sun,
nyin jikitiñalu be kasiti lokoto.
I mean, we suffered
mbatata
for somebody
ka moye
who has become a monster
men nata ke dafen jawbati
for the simple reason that
dalila kan me ya lonko
he has no regard for humanity.
amang hadama ya domandingo fango soto asondo moto.
So we must also be careful.
woto sen hakilotu
Even the constitution we have just prepared,
haninga constitution o men da teng
the same uprising is coming again.
ateo ku kilingule be wuli kan kotake
The Jammeh Inquiry Commission
nyin janela kisikisiro men ketanung
is gone,
atata
and we don't have any results about it.
adung man kibaru moy akwala.
We also prepared the draft constitution,
nga constitution kuto fanandada
which was supported by the overall Gambians
me yalon ko gambian ko lu be ya fasa
and those in the diaspora.
ani men yalon ko be banko e bantala
It's also gone in vain.
o fanan fela tata wala nyama kense
Now it only remains your TRRC.
amunta nyinti RRC doron ne tuta jang silang
You must stand on your feet.
TRRC nyanta lole singola de
If
Ni-
your recommendations
alla ya marolu albe menu kela
come in vain like the constitution,
ni olu fanal nata ke kensen ko constitution o keta nyamin
as well as the Jammeh inquiry,
anin janela kisikisiro fanan keta nyamin
I think we have to use our hands to blow each another.
woto ngamerambe bulla kelo kela janne
Because you are doing the most truest job.
katu albedo ko men ke kan anyon do ku tonya man soto.
Even the anti-corruption commission, which is supposed to be established,
hani inyanta commission men londi la me yalon ko wolle nyanta tapaleani nakaro kelela
that should even still be maintained with this commission.
wo hanin bi wolle nyanta lola ka sabate aninyin commission
And that has to go all the way around.
andu wo nyanta fanna bele mala.
This is why I recommend
wala nambenyi ya maro dila
that even your mandate,
hani alakango albelori menka
because of this COVID-19, how do you call it, lockdown,
nyin COVID-19 jankaro e kolu menu sorong
you need to have extension of more time, at least another 1 year.
an alinyanta wato soton na le kala fa membital hani fo sanji kilinyong
Because there are a lot of cases to come about.
katu kujamale be koma menu nyanta nala de
And because of the break you had,
katu mune yo sabu nga wuchew melonu wala yo sabu
and the whole world is only listening to your commission.
adun dunia bebe nyin commission la moy kanne
So I would advise this government,
woto mbenyi man sakunda ya marila
your commission,
alla commission
if they don't take care of your commission, your recommendation,
ni mal la commission topoto albe ya maro mendi la imawota
it may bring uprising.
abe mamango sabu la nyim banko kan
Because you are on the right footing
katu albeta makan to nyani tilingu silole kan
to consolidate democracy,
pour que demokrasi kafunyo maka bambandi ay balu
to ensure that freedom of how do you call it, expression, freedom of speech prevails.
pour ka jako mol la kalimo la taram fambulo kango fana yello ay sabati.
So therefore,
woto wo kamala
I don't need to take much time.
man amanjare ngam wati dota kotake
I thank the imams.
mbe alimamulu numbarala
I thank my fellow youth commission members.
mbe fondinkewlu numbarala meno be commission kono
And I also thank the councils
for
a job well done. This will go a long way. It is a legacy. But the advice goes to the president. Let him not joke with this commission. Let the politicians not joke with this commission for their personal interests, as they had that exploitation of our commission, of our constitution. It's just going to be a waste in vain. And the corruption also, we must try and must try and evade from corruption. There will be no progress. There will be no peace without justice. And there is no justice without peace. You are on justice platform. So the way they spoil the constitution, and the way they spoil the Jammeh inquiry, it should not be on this commission. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Jammeh, for those very wise concluding remarks. We appreciate your coming to testify before the Commission. And again, I reiterate our sorrow that you and your family had to endure so much in the hands of NIA. But thank you also for flying very high the flag of Armitage School. You made some confessions here. Confessing to what you did during the early years of the Jammeh regime. I hope the country forgives you for those associations. You must have been a Macklin Kunda boy to do all those things. The Saunders boys don't do that. But again, thank you very much indeed for coming to testify before the Commission. We will take a lunch break and come back at 3:15. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.